so we are doing, 4.6c. We're finding the equation of a line given 2 points. Read that again, sorry. Okay, so our first step when we're finding the equation of a line given the 2 points is to find the slope. We're going to use the formula m equals y minus 1, or y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. Okay, so after we find the slope, then our second step is to use the point slope form, which Juliana just put in the chat, to find the equation of the line. Sign. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's look at 3 and -7, and then the 2 and the -4. Those are our two ordered pairs that they're giving us. We have our 2 points. So our first step would be using this formula, right? So let me get my marker. So let's plug stuff in. We're looking at this first formula. So remember, when we have our y1s and y2s, all that, so this is x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay? It's always how it's going to be when you're giving your two pairs. Okay, so we want to take our y1, which is -7, right? And it's always going to be a subtraction sign. And then our y2 would be a -4. So it's going to look like this. I'll rewrite it. We'll change the sign and make it look a little easier. Okay, so then we're going to do x1, which is a 3. Always a subtraction sign. And then x2, which is 2. Okay, so it looks like this. If I was to rewrite it, which I like to, because remember these two negatives right there will just be a positive sign. So it'll look a little neater if you want to rewrite it. That just makes it easier for me. Okay, so what's -7 plus 4, you guys? Someone tell me. -7 plus 4. Put it in the chat. -3, awesome. So we have a -3. Then we have a 3 minus 2, which that gives us 1, right? So our slope is going to be -3 over 1 or just -3. We usually don't put it over the 1, right? So our slope is our -3. So that's our first part of our answer. Okay? Now, let's do the second part. I'm going to move this down. Okay, so now we can use that slope and use our second form to find the actual equation, okay? I hope I can squeeze this on here. I write too big. So we have our, now we're doing our second equation. I'm just going to put a little line there. So we have our y minus y1, which our y1 should be, that -7, right? So it's going to look like that. My pen's dying. Then that equals m. M is our slope, remember? So that's where that -3 goes. Okay? Then we have our x minus our x1. Our x1 is 3, right? So it's -3. So this is what we have so far, right? So we know that this is really a plus sign, right? So that's a y plus 7. I always like to rewrite it. Makes it easier for me. And then now we can do our distributing, right? So we have to distribute the -3 to both of those. So -3 times x is -3x. -3 times -3 is a positive 9. So we're there right now. Yeah, pretty much, Juliana. But it's simple. It's quick. I think you'll get it easy. So, okay. So now, remember we got to take that 7 over here. So we're going to minus our 7 from both sides. So then we're left with, I'm at the end of the paper, so it's hard for me to write. Sorry. So we're left with -3x. And then 9 minus 7. What's that give us, guys? Help me out in the chat. 9 minus 7. Thank you. Positive 2, right? So this is our equation. Negative 2 and a negative 3 for our first ordered pair, and then 1 and negative 1 for our second ordered pair. Shh. So remember, first we have to find our slope, right? Where'd my pen go? I lost it. Oh, there. There it is. Okay. I'm actually going to use this color. Okay, so let's plug some stuff in here. So we have our y1, right? Oh, let's label. I always have to label for myself, too. I don't know if you guys forget, but I do. Why are all my markers dying, you guys? I got to change that one. Okay. Too many colors here. I actually did. I found some felt tip ones on Amazon that I had to order. Guys, I need you to make him be quiet now. I am teaching. Hold him. Okay. So let's take our y1, which is at negative 3, minus our y2, which is a negative 1. Okay. Then we have our x1, which is negative 2, minus our x2, which is a positive 1. So we're left with this, right? So what is our slope, guys? Tell me. Or type it in, whatever. So we have a negative 3. Remember, these two negatives turn into a plus sign. So negative 3 plus 1 gives us what, guys? Negative 2, thank you. Then we have a negative 2 minus 1 gives us what, guys? Okay, so we're left with a negative 2 over 3. Or a negative 2 over negative 3. So these, basically, this will just change into a positive 2 over 3. Whenever you have the two negatives like that, it's kind of going to turn into a positive like we did over here. So we're going to have a 2 over 3 as our slope. So this is our slope. That's our slope. Okay. Now we can use that to do this equation. So let's start plugging in. So we have our y minus our y1, which is at negative 3, equals m, which is our slope. So put your 2/3 there. And then x minus x1, which is a negative 2. So minus a negative 2. So you know that's going to turn into a plus sign, right? Okay, so let's start solving some more here. So we have a y plus 3. I'm going to rewrite it, make it a little prettier. Okay, and now we can do our distributing, right? So we'll have 2/3 x, because we have to distribute there and there. Now we're going to do a 2/3 times a 2, right? So let me see if I can squeeze this in somewhere. Sorry, I didn't leave myself much room, did I? Okay, so if I do 2/3 times our positive 2, that's a positive 2 now, right? We can make it into a fraction by putting it over 1, and we just multiply. So it's going to be a 4 over 3, okay? So let's write that here. I did this example because it's a lot of fractions, so I thought we'd do this one together. All right. So this is what we're left with so far. Y plus 3 equals 2/3 x plus 4/3. Where did I get the 2 over 1? Remember, when we're multiplying, we have to do this distributing. 2/3 times a 2. We just put it over a 1 to make it a fraction like the 2/3. So we can do our multiplying. Okay. Now this is where it's going to be fun, because now we have to take this 3 away from the side, right? So we have to minus the 3, minus the 3. So we're left with this. We're left with, I'm going to squeeze it in here, guys, sorry. 4 over 3 minus a 3, right? But we can put it over 1, right, to make it into a fraction. This is where our good fun fraction comes in, if you remember. I tried to do it on the calculator, but mine wouldn't let me, so I'm just going to work it out. But if you guys can do that part on your calculator, that's fine. So we have 4 over 3 minus 3 over 1. So we know we have to find our common denominator. If we're working it out, that's going to be a 3, right? This one will stay the same. That'll be a 4 over 3. So 1 times 3 gave us that 3. So then we do 3 times 3, which gives us 9. That's where that top number comes from. So now we can write what we get. So now we just do 4 minus 9, which gives us a negative 5. Our 3 stays the same. So our equation should look like that. Okay, so the way we do this, when we see, you have to just be aware of the pairs that it's giving you. When you see a 1 for both x values, right? This is x1 and x2. When you see a 1 for both of those x values, you're going to know that there's no slope and that x is going to equal 1. And that is it on those. So those ones are kind of fun. You have a couple that are super easy like that. So whenever you have 1s for both of your x values, there's no slope and it will be x is 1. Now that's kind of where this one comes in. Same kind of rule here. Let me write that on here. So, since both x values are 1, that would mean no slope. So you get x equals 1. Okay. And the same for down here. You don't have to write it unless you need to, but since both of these y values are 1, you're going to get y equals 1. And that'll be the answer it's looking for in your assignment. So just remember that rule for both of those, okay? So since, I'll write it here too. Sorry, I'm writing at an angle, so it's super messy. Since both y values are 1, that means there's no slope. And you're going to get y equals 1. Okay?